Psycho-Pass 2 Episode 1. This shit was dope. I'm so hyped to have Psycho-Pass back. And there's a lot to talk about with this episode, so I'm just going to jump straight into it. Really like how the first episode of the season paralleled the first episode of Season 1 so heavily, because it gave them a chance to show the development of the entirety of that season for certain characters like Akane and Ginoza right out the gate, and then introduce the new characters in a light that, you know, gives it the same kind of feeling. Akane's protege, the new inspector, is really quite a foil of Akane overall, and I'll get into all of that. And Hanekawa, the new enforcer, the redhead, he looks pretty dope. And the other new enforcer, Togane, I'm going to get into him in a second because I have so much to actually talk about with him just based on my little inquiries, my thoughts and whatnot, looking at the OP and just kind of feeling out the episode. So I'll get into that in a second. I really like how they showcase Akane and how far she's come from the beginning of that first episode, like I said. Even though she's still working within the civil system, which too, a lot of heavy fan service with this episode in terms of Psycho-Pass fans. You know, I guess you wouldn't be watching it anyway if you didn't see Season 1, but yeah, I really enjoyed that aspect of it, and seeing how far Akane has come. She really has this creed that she's living by now, and you see how much more intelligent she is within the operation of her job, and you know, how much braver and strong she's become as a result. And I really fucking liked how they showcased that straight out the gate and making her a strong lead in the absence of Kougami, which I also have to get into that in a second. Ginoza as well, just like seeing him as a enforcer, it's like he's almost completely reached that same status that his father was at, Mazuka, and like it's really dope to see Ginoza in that role, and some of the things that were holding him back first episode as an enforcer, and accepting what his, you know, thoughts of justice are, just like Akane. Both of them seem to be on the same wavelength, and I like that whole aspect. The animation, let's talk about the animation for a second. Tatsunoko Productions is doing a fucking good job. Tatsunoko Productions is a fucking beastly legendary studio, okay? I'm not gonna put them down or anything. They have a complete crazy body of work, and they're good, and this episode proved that. But comparing Tatsunoko Productions to Production IG to me is just not fair. When I'm looking at just the slight subtle changes that you can see in how things are portrayed and set up between the two, it's lesser to me, yeah, but it still looks good, and for the most part, it pays homage to how Production IG set everything up in the first season. So I like the way they did it. There was only one scene where I thought the animation was slightly choppy, but it looks like by the end of it, like when you saw that the new Makishima, that's what I'm gonna call him from now on until I learn his name, when he shot the enforcer and he vaporized, and when that shit looked beautiful. But there was just one action scene that looked kind of choppy to me, and when Akane used the Dominator in destruction mode and shot that robot shit, and it was like full destruction, it blew up. I didn't like how they slowed it down. It felt like kind of like a cop-out to me, because they could make it more fluid in that way. They should have just went all in with that. But by the end of it, it looks like they hit their stride, and this is an 11-episode season, so I think that they have what it takes and have the funds and everything to go all in with it. And for the next episode, we'll start seeing them hitting their stride in terms of animation, and things will start looking beautiful. Because with that OP, they really proved how far they're willing to go with this series. And the OP has a lot of questions for me in it as well, which is what I want to discuss now. First of all, music-wise, Ling Tosai Tsigure back again. For those of you that don't know, Ling Tosai is one of my top 5 J-rock bands, probably my #1 favorite Japanese post-hardcore band. They're just so fucking dope. And it's nice to have the whole band in on this new song. I can't wait to get my hands on whatever this is, whether it be an EP or a new album, not sure yet. But it's really a fucking good song. Animatic by them is really fucking good right now. I'm liking it. I think it's even gonna grow on me more. It's not as good as TK's solo project last season, Fantastic Magic. That's why my hopes were set, the bar was set high with that, with the Unravel OP for Tokyo Ghoul and whatnot. But great OP nonetheless. Definitely my favorite OP of the season, although it's close. It's almost a tie with that Fear and Loathing that we got yesterday for the Parasite OP. And the ED, of course, with having Egoist back, getting a new Ego song after I don't even know how long. It's fucking dope as hell. and of course, best ED of this season so far as well. I think there might have actually been one other show, I can't remember what it is right now, that I like the ED better for. I need to reassess this whole music situation. But also they got Yugo back, so on the soundtrack, so the BGMs are nice and everything. And as far as the script goes, which was another thing that I was concerned about, it's seeming like it's going to be really good. It seems like Ubakata is going to do a very good job, and Urobuchi is supervising everything, so I'm hyped about that. It's looking nice overall. The new enforcers. Hanekawa, the redhead dude, like I was saying, he kind of reminds me of Kagari from first episode in terms of design and probably what his personality is going to be like. I'm real interested to find out more about him because he didn't really do much except kind of bubbled up a little bit in this opening one, but he looks badass. Togane now with that OP and just like his demeanor when he came up behind Akane while they were on the top of the roof, he seems to harbor some heavy ideals about humanity and whatnot. It seems like a pretty just dude from what we're getting so far, but the OP kind of has me confused, kind of portraying him as evil and aligned with Sybil slightly when you see that him holding the gun up, the Dominator up to his face, and there's this split with the red eye and whatnot, making him kind of seem evil, but he probably is one of the main antagonists of this. That's one theory I have. Either Togane is just Togane, he's a main antagonist, and he definitely has some relationship to Kougami with what I saw in the OP, and I highly think that Kougami is either here already, which I'll get into in a second, or is coming back by the end of this season. Probably in the latter episodes we'll get the return of Kougami. I almost have this crazy theory that Togane is Kougami, and Kougami went off, parlayed with Saiga for a bit, then got some plastic surgery, some crazy shit, came back looking different, and, you know, went back into being an enforcer and some shit so he could oversee without actually being there or some shit. That's one crazy theory I have. That's probably not gonna be it, but that would be dope if I call that right here. Either way, Togane to me seems to have some sort of connection to Kougami, and if Kougami comes back, because I'm not going to go with my crazy theory and I'm going to assume Kougami and Togane are different people, and I'm thinking Togane is going to be one of the main antagonists of this, aside from the second Makishima, which we see at the end of the episode. And if he's not, unless he's Kougami, like I said, but they'll definitely have some sort of relationship, Kougami and Togane, they definitely do, and I expect Kougami back at the end of this season by some point throughout the season. If not this season, the movie is also coming beginning of next year, so if they leave it open at the end of the season to wrap it up with the final movie, that would be dope as well. As long as we get Kougami's return at some point in the rest of the Psycho-Pass canon, I will be satisfied. For now, I'm interested in seeing the development of Akane and how she comes into her own and tackles the Sybil system. I need to see the Sybil system's destruction by the end of either this season or the movie, like I said, because that shit is wrong. That was the only gripe I had with the end of season 1, but I like the fact that it remained in power because it was more realistic of an ending that way. But now with this, we need to see, if they're going to come back to the table, we need to see some real opposition to Sybil. Now, the dude at the end, looking badass, the second Makishima, what I'm going to call him, I need to know his name so I can stop calling him that, but his crime coefficient remains low, that's why I'm calling him the second Makishima, even though he's doing all kinds of crazy, fucked up shit. So, he's another candidate for Sybil system, and he just like fucking easily injects the fucking inspector, takes out the enforcer that's with her, and he's just looking beastly right now, and I'm curious as fuck. I have so many questions about this season and what's gonna happen, where the antagonist can come from, what Togane's role is, because he's looking suspicious with that OP and everything, how he relates to Kougami, whether that be Kougami, whether they know each other from the past, whether they're just gonna clash when Kougami returns at some point. I am telling you, Kougami's returning. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. Everybody has the power to keep his name off the cast list and all records, keep that voice actor off of all records until the time of the reveal comes. People do that shit all the time. Anyway, and what this whole dude, the second Makishima's deal is, what his goal is, what he's trying to accomplish. We got the nice setup, introducing all the characters, setting up the worlding, and giving us, you know, showing where we're at after the end of the first season, and it was just a very good first episode for a second season. Loving the music, like I said, the animation will definitely hit its stride, and in terms of plot, it looks like it's going to be fucking interesting, just like the first season. So I'm going to give this episode 8 out of 10. I am hyped as fuck for Psycho-Pass Season 2, Episode 2. Let me know your thoughts if you're a Psycho-Pass fanboy like me. and you have any crazy theories or anything like that, I'd love to hear them. What these people's relations are and whatnot. We need to get into all of this. I want a large-scale discussion. And yeah, link to site for the win. I gotta mention that once again. Anyway, that's it. Peace.